The difference between meet makeup and just like everyday makeup is you definitely have to wear more of it when you're on TV. These stadium lights or these, Coliseum lights, they will wash you out. So on meet day, what I usually start with is prepping my skin so that way all my makeup looks nice and smooth, and especially in the winter time, you want your skin to be moisturized. So I start with a little bit of this like glazing serum almost, I think, and it just helps keep your skin smooth and hydrated, so that way there aren't any like dry patches. And then after that, I put a little bit of moisturizer in like the dry spots. If you start putting stuff on top of dry skin, it can get like flaky and then it doesn't look as like glowy. Then I do my concealer. I don't use foundation. I kind of use my concealer as my foundation. After that, I use this little glow serum too, just to make everything look more glowy. If you can't tell, that's the vibe I'm going for, but not too shiny because then that looks like you're sweating. Now we move on to concealer. This is NARS Creamy Concealer. I think I actually learned this from my best friend who's a year older. I really like it. It stays really nice. So I'm the oldest of two. I have a younger sister. She's 3 years younger than me. She also does gymnastics. She goes to the University of Oklahoma, so I just got to see her last weekend and compete against her, which was really fun. It was really crazy. I feel really old because it felt like I was just a freshman, and now she's in the NCAA competing and killing it. And then both my parents are immigrants from Poland. They came in the 90s and they met in college. My mom was a collegiate gymnast and she competed elite gymnastics for Poland when she was younger. My dad is the only member of the family who's never done gymnastics. He just happens to have a lot of it in his life. So now I'm just blending out all of my concealer and kind of spreading it around my face, which is why I say I kind of use it as foundation, because concealer is usually supposed to stay in one spot, but I'm kind of like blending it out to cover more of my face. The difference between meet makeup and just like everyday makeup is you definitely have to wear more of it when you're on TV, and these stadium lights or these, Coliseum lights, they will wash you out. So when I was younger, I always wondered, like, why doesn't it look like I have any makeup on? And that is simply because I just wasn't putting enough. So every time I'm about to like go out for warm up, I have to look in the mirror and be like, I probably need a little bit more than I think, just because the way it shows up on TV isn't as like bright as you think it is. So next step is I go in with this Kosas concealer and actually just put a little bit on the places that I need to conceal, just any like tiny blemishes. And this one is lighter. It's a little bit closer to my actual skin tone. If you put too much, then you can tell like where there's spots of like where you're trying to cover it. But if you just go little by little and like check your work as you're going, then you can kind of control where the product is going. I don't really remember a point of my life where there wasn't gymnastics. My mom, she coached gymnastics, so I quite literally was in the gym while I was still in the womb. I would just go and play there while she worked. I had all of my babysitters were all family friends from the gym. So I wasn't great at gymnastics at first, but I just loved it and it was fun. I had really great friends growing up in gymnastics, so I think that helped me stick with it. And then I really just loved the feeling of like getting a new skill, even though a lot of that was hard for me and I was the last one to learn a lot of things. The feeling of like overcoming and getting a skill was worth it every time. So my next step in my meet day routine is bronzer. Here we go. It's like Mary Poppins bag in there. Okay, so first I go in with this Merit bronzer stick. It's a cream bronzer, and that just helps like make it more smooth and makes me look a little more tan, because that winter sun is nobody's friend. And then I just try to apply it like where the sun would kind of hit me naturally. I did online school for high school and a charter school for like middle school. My mom always worked at the gyms that we trained at. Like my mom coached me for a very large part of my career. She coached both me and my sister. It was hard to find the balance for my mom of like when to be mom and when to be coach, and like find a way to not bring that home. So I ended up kind of doing the elite route for Poland. I was on the national team from 2017 until 2020. In 2018, I went to the European Championships, and that was is to this day probably one of my favorite gymnastics memories. Honestly, I felt like it was really special to compete for my parents' homeland. I felt like that was really cool, and then I felt like I was on the world stage, so I kind of felt like for the first time in my life, I was, I don't know, I was accomplishing something. So after I put on the cream bronzer, I go in with this Makeup by Mario powder bronzer, and I don't do a ton, but just to set the cream product a little bit so that way it doesn't wear off as fast. And like I said, under the lights, the more tan, the better. So, and always make sure your bronzer kind of goes down your neck, so that way it's not like your face is super tan and then the rest of your body doesn't match. After bronzer, I go in with blush. First, with the bronzer, I go in with the cream blush, and this is Rare Beauty. I've had this one for so many years because it's so pigmented, you really don't need that much. So it's probably gonna last me a really long time, and I've used this since freshman year. So my end goal in gymnastics was always to get a college scholarship and be part of a team. I think I got my first letter from Minnesota. I was maybe 11. I don't know, I felt like my dream was getting closer to being realized. So I came to Alabama in a roundabout way because when I was 13, I committed to the University of Pittsburgh, and I was super young. I didn't even know what college was, didn't think about the fact that I'd be really far from home, that the weather was gonna be different than Texas. And I went and did my freshman year there, and it ended up not being quite what I imagined. And after my freshman year, I decided to transfer. I almost feel like it was the universe that somehow I got a call and they're like, I have a spot for you. And I absolutely fell in love with it. I remember feeling this sense of calm in my heart that I didn't feel the first time making a decision. And that's when I kind of knew this was where I was meant to end up. Okay, so I call these my little half steps, I guess, because it's still blush, but I'm going in with this Westman Atelier, and it's a powder blush. And again, I'm trying not to do too much because we don't want to look too blush blind, even though, like I said, you need a little bit more than you think. A little extra rosiness. Hear me out, I really don't think blush blindness is a bad thing. I feel like you can't really go wrong with too much blush. Okay, next step is just my eyes in general, but I'm gonna start with a little bit of, it's Mario again, it's Makeup by Mario. It's a little bit of liquid eyeshadow, and it's just a light brown. I try not to do too much, but this just kind of makes me have some dimension in my face. Unfortunately, the shape of my eyes makes it so that as soon as I open my eyes, you can't even really see this. So I have to get it up as far as I can, so that way you can at least see a little bit of it. Oh goodness, freshman year was a trip gymnastics-wise. It is a completely different ball game than club gymnastics, more than I had initially realized. You also grow and change as you're going through college gymnastics, and your gymnastics start to feel different, your skills feel different, and it's different on your mind, and it takes a little bit of adjustment. So the entirety of freshman year was a struggle with that a little bit. Okay, so after the eyeshadow's all blended out, I just go and curl my eyelashes a little bit, and then I learned this hack on TikTok. I feel rub your fingers on your lashes. I feel like it's the warmth from your hand helps make your lashes stay a little bit. And then next I go in with this Refy mascara, and it's brown. I feel like that really makes my blue eyes pop. This is a new mascara for me. Coming to Alabama after that, I still had to transition a little bit. I like to say that sometimes I had 2 freshman years because I was, again, in a whole world of new. But I think the community I had around me and the girls and coaches and team made that more seamless, and I had more support. I think the goals I really have for myself, I try not to make them a result or a score or anything, because ultimately that's outside of my control. All I can do is work hard and do what I do, and whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. I really, this year too, with it being my senior year, wanted to focus on, making memories and enjoying every moment. I'm just trying to stay in the present moment, and well, it is kind of in the back of my mind, oh, this is the last time I'll compete against this team, or the last time I'll be at Florida. I try not to think about it for too long, because that's not going to do me any good in the long run. It's only going to make me sad and pull me away from the moment that I really want to enjoy. So I'm really trying really hard to not focus too much on the sad part of it. But I go in with this little Makeup Forever color pencil, and I just put this brown line right under my eyes and my lash line. Again, I think it helps my blue eyes pop a little bit. So after I put that on my eye, I kind of just blend it out with my finger. So after gymnastics, I am going to the University of Alabama Law School. I've wanted to be a lawyer since I was probably 12 years old. So that is something that makes this transition a little bit easier, is I have a dream that I'm really excited about and something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and I am really excited to start that. It is kind of a field where you have that adrenaline feeling, kind of like you do in gymnastics. And I think like after being in gymnastics for so long, it's important to find who you are and what you like and your identity outside of that. So I think especially for the first few years, like being removed from it will serve me well to find out like who I am outside of my sport. So yeah, I think that's more the route I'm gonna take with that. Okay, so once that's done, I'm actually gonna go in with my setting spray. It's this e.l.f. Power Grip spray, and then I kind of just spray it like evenly across my face, because when you're in a meet and you're sweating, you need that stuff to stay on and don't get it in your mouth. And then you kind of just gotta let that dry. Okay, as that's drying, I use the same lip gloss every meet, and it's this e.l.f. lip oil. This is a bit of a superstition. I don't want to change it because, I don't know, that's just what I've always done. I would say that there's this misconception that makeup is used to cover your imperfections and stuff, but there is a way to do makeup that accentuates your natural features, and I think that's really important because everyone's skin is different and everyone's skin is beautiful, and finding out what works for you. And you know, I have this little mole on my face, and growing up I didn't always love it, but now I know that's how I was made, and it's a source of beauty and confidence for me. But just finding out what works for you, and that's about it. And then after this, I'll put my hair up, put my Leo on, and it's time to go compete. So yeah.